Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and like and subscribe to prove that your mom's new fiance is up to something. Maybe. Today we're building Kate Bishop, a plucky young woman who will hit her target whether it's metaphorical or literal. She might not be the most experienced superheroine, but she's got what it takes to bring the bad guys down. A young Avenger, a dog lover, and some would say the world's greatest archer. She's one of the people who would say that, but she also isn't wrong. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to be able to kick the bad guy booty, whether we've got a bow and arrow or are fighting with our fisticuffs. Next, we need to be a smart cookie with the intuition and investigatory chops to notice when something shady is happening. And finally, we need some trick arrows, even if Clint says we shouldn't have them in our quiver. What does he know? He's just the dude on the Avengers with a weapon from the Paleolithic era and awful branding. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep your dex and wisdom up there so you can get the whole Kate Bishop package. Speaking of which, dexterity is number 1 at 15. No surprises here. It's the bow and arrow stat, and she is the bow and arrow queen. Next is wisdom at 14. You've got a good head on your shoulders, and you need to be able to sniff out the schemers in the criminal underbelly. Intelligence after that, she's graduated with a 3.86 GPA, and if you want your investigation to go anywhere, intelligence will be important. Charisma at 12. You make friends with that old man in the elevator, kind of, but you are a charmer, so you need a positive modifier. Strength is a little low at 10, but ultimately we don't need it for anything, so we're leaving it there. And finally, con is at 8. You're just a person without any superpowers, healing factors, or anything like that. You could probably pick up some ibuprofen from the corner store. Kate is unequivocally a human. She doesn't come from space or any other dimension, and she isn't immune, but custom lineage can be anything, even a human. That's what Kate Bishop should be. Put your 2 free points into dexterity, so volleys of arrows are more accurate and more deadly. Your dex gets another bump, bringing it to 18 with the piercer feat. With that, you can reroll one of your damage die per turn when you deal piercing damage. Also, when you roll a critical hit dealing piercing damage, you get to add an extra damage die. The best way to stick it to the man is to stick an arrow in their chest. This will help you do that. For legal reasons, I'm talking about Kate Bishop. Take investigation for your skill of choice and the noble background for persuasion and history proficiency. You gotta be smart if you're going to college and stuff. We're kicking things off as a rogue because if you're taking any levels in rogue, you should start with it. Grab proficiency in acrobatics, athletics, insight, and stealth. You get sneak attack to deal extra damage when you've got the upper hand. Once per turn, you can add an extra d6 to a creature you hit with a ranged or finesse weapon if you have a crime-fighting partner within 5 feet of the target. Lastly, you get expertise in 2 skills, doubling your proficiency bonus. Go with investigation and insight so you'll know when Jack is letting you win in a friendly post-dinner fencing match. Keep going to rogue level 2 for cunning action, letting you use your quick wit and natural speed to dash as a bonus action, disengage as a bonus action, or hide as a bonus action. Normally, all those things take an action, but being able to dash with a bonus action is really going to come in handy considering you don't know how to drive. 3rd level rogue means you get to pick a roguish archetype, and nothing will help you figure out who is at the top of New York's organized crime syndicate than the Inquisitive from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. That grants you an ear for deceit and an eye for detail. The former lets you treat any roll of 7 or lower for an insight check as an 8, meaning that right now your lowest insight check is a 14, and by the end of this build that'll be even higher. Eye for detail lets you use a bonus action to make a perception check to spot hidden creatures or make an investigation check to uncover or decipher clues. Inquisitive also gives you insightful fighting, letting you understand and counter your enemy's moves in combat. With a bonus action, you can make an insight check against a deception check from your target. If you succeed, you no longer need advantage on your sneak attack, which, by the way, is dealing 2d6 damage. Though with steady aim, you could also just use a bonus action to grant yourself advantage on your next weapon attack during that turn, as long as you haven't moved in that turn. So you've got options to get advantage and get sneak attack, but if you need to stay on the move, use insightful fighting. 4th level rogue gives you an ability score improvement or a feat. Cap off your dexterity to show the tracksuit mafia not to mess with you, bro. Also, side note, in the comics they're called the tracksuit Draculas, and I just think that's way more fun. On with the build. Hopping over to monk now, Kate has been training in martial arts since she was 5, so you know, like a year ago. As a monk, you get unarmored defense, letting you avoid attacks better by adding your wisdom modifier to your AC along with your dexterity. You're a slippery one, and you need to protect yourself considering we dumped constitution. You also get martial arts, letting you make an unarmed attack using your dexterity score instead of strength. This will also make your fists do 1d4 plus dex instead of the normal 1 plus strength strength mod, and when you use the attack action to make an unarmed attack or use a monk weapon on your turn, you can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. All of this is assuming you're not wearing any armor or carrying a shield, but that's why we got unarmored defense. It's almost like I'm good at this or something. It's also like the designers of this class made monks get both of these abilities at the same level, so you can get kind of both of them going at the same time, but that's beside the point. I'm smart and pretty, and you should be telling me that more. We're gonna keep chugging along with monk for some more key points equal to your monk level. You can use these key points to do cool archer stuff, like Step of the Wind to disengage or dash as a bonus action. You can already do that without key points thanks to cunning action, but if you do it this way, you can jump twice as far, which will help make up for your less than stellar strength score. You can also take a defensive position with patient defense, letting you use a bonus action to dodge, giving you advantage on dexterity saves, and enemies disadvantage on attacks against you. No joke for this ability. You dumped con. Just use patient defense a lot. The creme de la creme, the pinnacle of monkitude though, the thing you've all been waiting for, is Flurry of Blows, letting you spend a key point to make 2 unarmed attacks as a bonus action immediately after you take the attack action. You prefer to keep your distance, obviously, but if things get up close and personal, you can still hold your own for a while, and this is going to help. Also, at level 2, you get unarmored movement, adding an extra 10 feet of movement speed when you're not wearing armor or wearing a shield. This will keep progressing as we move forward in Monk, but before we do that, it's time for one last multi-classing pit stop. Oh, would you look at that? It's the first level of fighter. That gives you a fighting style, and obviously for Kate Bishop, I want the Mariner fighting style, the one from that 7-year-old unearthed arcana that never made it to print. Or if your DM doesn't allow homebrew, take the archery fighting style to boost your attack rolls with ranged weapons by 2. That's gonna work better for her anyway. You also get Second Wind, letting you take a quick breather to heal 1d10 plus your fighter level with a bonus action. This is the last time I'm gonna mention that we dumped con, but if you want to take hits, you're gonna need to heal that HP up. Now let's jump back over to Monk and pick up the Way of the Kensei. That'll give you Kensei weapons, allowing you to pick any 2 simple or martial weapons, 1 ranged and 1 melee, to be deemed Kensei weapons. Go with your longbow for obvious reasons and a rapier for experience with fencing. Normally this would give you proficiency with those weapons, but you already got that from fighter. Instead, we're gonna focus on the stuff you can do with your Kensei weapons, like agile parry. This lets you add 2 to your AC until the start of your next turn if you make an unarmed strike as part of your attack action and are holding your melee Kensei weapon. You also get Kensei shot, letting you use a bonus action to add a d4 of damage to all of your attacks made with your longbow until the end of your turn. If you already have advantage on an enemy, you can pop this and just add a little extra hurt to your arrows. Finally, as a Kensei, you get the power of the gods with Way of the Brush, giving you proficiency in calligrapher's supplies. You probably went to prep school, and I'm guessing penmanship is 40% of the curriculum at least. 4th level monks get another ability score improvement or a feat, and while we could raise our wisdom or intelligence to help us both in and out of combat, this wouldn't be a build for the world's greatest archer if we didn't take the sharpshooter feat. With that, ranged attacks made at long range are no longer made with disadvantage. You can ignore all but full cover and take a -5 penalty to your attack roll to add 10 to the damage rolls of your attacks. With easy access to advantage, the archery fighting style, and your capped dexterity score, you should be pretty confident about hitting your targets and be able to pull off some massive damage. Probably not enough to kill Kingpin. Honestly, you'd be lucky if you even left a scratch on him, but it's definitely going to be paying dividends in the long run, taking down all of his underlings. You also get Slow Fall, letting you reduce your falling damage by 5 times your monk level as a reaction. Technically speaking, you don't need any conveniently placed Christmas lights to stop you from going splat, but they wouldn't hurt. Now is a good time to visit our old friend Rogue again and snag up the level 5 ability, Uncanny Dodge. This lets you have damage from incoming attacks as long as you can see the source. This is going to come in handy if you accidentally make some bad guys think that you're some kind of weird sword-wielding, criminal-killing assassin that they have beef with, but that'd be weird if that happened. Also, your sneak attack is 3d6, so use that to, take them out when they think that you're an assassin. 6th level rogues get expertise in 2 more skills. Go for stealth to be sneakier, and athletics to prove that you've earned all the trophies on your mantle. 7th level rogues get evasion, letting you take half damage from failed dex saves and no damage on successful ones. This is going to keep you alive in a lot of tough situations. Not against bad guys just shooting guns at you or whatever, but if Kate ends up fighting a blue dragon in your fun fantasy world, then she's going to be ready for that breath weapon. Your sneak attack also bumps up to 4d6 at this level, so if you get the upper hand in a fight, you'll be putting your targets in the ground even faster. We'll jump back to fighter now. 2nd level fighters get action surge, letting you make 2 actions in 1 turn once per short rest. This is going to make you even fiercer of a fighter and gives you a chance to fire arrows in rapid succession. Maybe if you get good enough, you could even split an arrow that's still in the air with another arrow. That's impossible. I've tried too many times. 3rd level fighters get to choose a martial archetype, and hear me out with this one. We need some trick arrows, right? And there's an option that seems like it was pretty perfectly designed for someone like Kate Bishop to shoot some wacky ammunition at their enemies. That's right, I'm talking about Eldritch Knight. Did you think I was talking about Arcane Archer? Why would I do that when we've got such great options like Weapon Bond, making sure that you've always got access to your bow with a little ritual that prevents you from being disarmed unless incapacitated, and you can summon the weapon weapon back with the bonus action. We know Clint has a collapsible bow, but now you do too. Eldritch Knights also get spells and cantrips. Message will let you send a little voice message to Clint that lets you whisper to someone that's 120 feet away, and they can whisper back. Our other cantrip is Firebolt for some flame arrow action. This lets you shoot a streak of flame someone's way, dealing 3d10 fire damage to those that it hits, and it will light any flammable objects. This is like the arrow that isn't as dangerous as the one that's too dangerous, but is still pretty freaking dangerous. For your first level spells, grab Witch Bolt, letting you shoot a shock arrow at an enemy that deals 1d12 lightning damage on a crit, and can continue to deal that damage on subsequent turns as long as you stay within 30 feet range and maintain your concentration. Also grab Magic Missiles to send out 3 tracking arrows that deal 1d4 plus 1 force damage each and automatically hit creatures within 120 feet of you unless your target has the shield spell. Our last trick arrow this level will help us fill in any gaps we're missing from the cool arrow repertoire because we're going to grab Chromatic Ore. Now you can fire an arrow that does acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage from up to 90 feet away. No matter what type of damage you choose, it deals 3d8 of your chosen flavor of pain. 4th level fighter gives us another ability score improvement or feat, and now that we've got some trick arrows in the form of spells, we can grab the spell sniper feat. Like the sharpshooter feat, this means that your ranged spell attacks can ignore all but full cover. It also doubles the range of your spells that require attack rolls, and you gain 1 more cantrip. Ray of Frost is a ranged spell attack that deals 3d8 cold damage and slows the target down by 10 feet. Extra points if you use that one on an ice skating rink, solely for thematic purposes. 5th level fighter gives us an extra attack, meaning that when we take the attack action, we're making 2 attacks instead of 1, doubling our damage output and making our action surge even more potent when you take the attack action. 4 arrows in 1 turn is nothing to scoff at, whether you're on a team with someone who can kick star portals into existence or with a literal Norse god. 6th level fighters get another ability score improvement or feat. I'm gonna raise our intelligence to do better with our trick arrows. 7th level Eldritch Knights get War Magic, letting you make a bonus action weapon attack after you cast a cantrip with your action. Now you can shoot a frost or flame arrow and a normal arrow in the same turn. You also get 2nd level spells and will pick up darkness to obscure a 15-foot radius sphere with magical darkness. This is a little smoke bomb arrow, use it to hide yourself or confuse your enemies. Also grab Melf's acid arrow for, an acid arrow. On a hit with this spell, the target should take 4d4 acid damage right away and another 2d4 of acid damage at the end of your next turn. On a miss, you do half damage. Nothing in the rules says you can't use this spell to turn a Christmas tree into timber, so if you've got a cool DM, that's very much an option. Couple more monk levels now. 5th level monks get an extra attack. It doesn't stack with the extra attack from fighter. You also get Stunning Strike, letting you stun a creature that fails a Constitution saving throw that you hit with a weapon attack if you're willing to spend a key point. Your martial arts die also increases to 1d6. All this really comes in handy when you can't keep your distance and need to fight up close and personal. Our last level is the 6th level of monk for key empowered strikes, making your unarmed attacks magical in terms of overcoming resistances and immunity. So now if you end up getting in a fist fight with an otherworldly being, you might still have a chance. Being a Kensei monk also means that your attacks with your chosen weapons are considered magical, with magical Kensei weapons. So now all of your arrows are trick arrows, at least a little bit. You also get Deft Strike, letting you spend a key point to add your martial arts die in extra damage to an attack once per turn. Save it for the crits, then it's an extra 2d6. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, with a capped off dexterity score, sneak attack, and sharpshooter deft, strike piercer, and the archery fighting style, you're definitely not the only person saying you're the world's greatest archer. Next, you've got options for days, whether it be fighting with your fists if you can't keep your distance, and trick arrows for when you need some variety in your damage types. Finally, uncanny dodge and evasion along with your unarmored defense, making you surprisingly hard to hurt, especially if you use your patient defense. As for cons, you're gonna need those rogue and monk features to stay alive with a dumped constitution, so you're extra frail when compared to the Hulk and other co-stars in your cinematic universe. You're also a bit of a mad woman. You're spread pretty thin, and because of that and the need for feats, your soft stats aren't quite what they could be. Finally, because we multi-classed, we couldn't get the real cool arrows that Clint keeps in the back of the quiver without 3rd level spell slots. But the real Kate Bishop experience isn't about being able to cast Fireball, it's about stopping crime, getting to the bottom of some shady business, and being a world-class archer, swordswoman, and hand-to-hand combatant, all without powers from a magic space stone or sci-fi gadgets. Unless you got the trick arrows, in which case, minimal sci-fi gadgets. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.